Your brain is lying to you right now. And the worst part is, you probably do not even notice it is happening. Overthinking is not a personality trait. It is not who you are. It is a glitch in your brain that you were never taught how to fix. And if nobody has ever shown you how to stop it, you are going to keep spinning in the same mental loops for the rest of your life, replaying conversations, second-guessing decisions, and lying awake at 2 a.m. worrying about things that probably will never even happen. By the end of this video, you are going to have 4 brain tricks that stop overthinking in 10 seconds or less. Not in theory, not someday, right now, today. The next time your brain tries to spiral, you will know exactly what to do to shut it down. And trick number 3 is the one that is going to surprise you the most. It sounds completely backwards. Most people laugh when they first hear it, but the science behind it is rock solid. And once you try it, you will never overthink the same way again. Here is what nobody tells you about overthinking. It is not a thinking problem. It is a nervous system problem. Most people try to stop overthinking by thinking harder. They try to logic their way out of the spiral. They make pros and cons lists. They ask friends for opinions. They research the same topic for the 14th time, hoping that one more piece of information will finally make them feel certain. But it never does, because the problem was never the lack of information. The problem is that your brain got stuck in a threat detection loop and is refusing to let go until it feels safe. A study published in the journal Nature Neuroscience found that the brain processes uncertainty the same way it processes physical danger. When you do not know what is going to happen, your brain fires the same alarm signals it would fire if you were being chased by something dangerous. That is why overthinking feels so urgent and so exhausting. Your brain genuinely believes you are in danger, and it is trying to protect you by thinking the problem to death. The 4 brain tricks in this video work not by adding more thinking, but by interrupting the alarm signal itself. They tell your nervous system it is safe to stop. And when your nervous system believes it is safe, the spiral stops almost immediately. So here is exactly how each one works. Trick number 1, the 5-4-3-2-1 ground method. When your brain starts to spiral, it loses contact with the present moment. It time travels. It goes into the future to catastrophize, or into the past to replay. The moment you pull your brain back into the present physical world, the spiral loses its power almost instantly. Because overthinking can only survive in an abstract mental space. It cannot survive when your senses are fully activated. Here is how you do it. The moment you feel the spiral starting, stop and name 5 things you can see right now. Then, 4 things you can physically feel: your feet on the floor, the chair under you, the temperature of the air. Then, 3 things you can hear. Then, 2 things you can smell. Then, 1 thing you can taste. By the time you finish that sequence, your brain has been forcibly pulled out of the abstract future and back into the real present moment. Neuroscientists call this sensory grounding, and research from the University of New South Wales shows it activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational, calm thinking, while simultaneously quieting the amygdala, which is the alarm center firing the anxious signals. So, let's you find your action today. The next time you feel a mental spiral starting, do the 5-4-3-2-1 sequence right where you are. Takes less than a minute, works immediately. Now, the second trick builds on this idea, but it works differently and faster. This one you can do in literally 10 seconds without anyone around you even knowing you are doing it. Trick number 2, box breathing. It is the same technique used by Navy SEALs before high-pressure operations. Here's the thing most people do not know about overthinking. Every time your thoughts spiral, your breathing changes without you realizing it. It gets shallower and faster. And that shallow, fast breathing sends a direct signal to your nervous system that something is wrong, which makes the overthinking worse, which makes your breathing shallower, which makes the overthinking worse again. It is a loop that feeds itself. Box breathing breaks that loop at the physical level. You breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. 1 full box, 16 seconds total. That is it. Research from Stanford University found that slow, controlled breathing directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your body's calm-down system, within seconds. Not minutes, seconds. Your heart rate drops, your cortisol levels fall, and your brain receives a clear signal that the danger has passed and it is safe to stop scanning for threats. So the first day, your action today. Set a reminder on your phone right now, labeled simply box breathing. Next time you catch yourself spiraling, do 1 box, just 1, 16 seconds. Feel the difference. Now, here is the crazy part. Those first two tricks work on the body, but the next two work directly on the thought itself. And this is where it gets really interesting, because most people try to fight their overthinking thoughts, or argue with them, or push them away, and that almost never works. You are about to find out why and what actually does work instead. Trick number 3, cognitive defusion. This is the one that sounds completely backwards when you first hear it. Most people try to stop an overthinking thought by telling themselves it is not true. They try to replace it with a positive thought. They argue with it. But here's the problem. When you fight a thought, you give it power. You are treating it like it is real and dangerous and worth engaging with. And your brain responds by holding onto it even tighter. Cognitive defusion, developed by psychologist Stephen Hayes at the University of Nevada, does the opposite. Instead of fighting the thought, you just label it as a thought. You say out loud, or in your head, I am having the thought that something bad is going to happen. Or, I notice I am having the thought that I made a mistake. This sounds simple to the point of being silly, but what it actually does is create distance between you and the thought. Instead of being inside the thought, you are watching the thought from the outside. And the moment you step outside of it, it loses almost all of its emotional charge. Dozens of clinical trials have confirmed that this technique reduces the emotional impact of anxious thoughts significantly faster than trying to challenge or replace them. Because you are not fighting the thought, you are just changing your relationship to it. Your action today, the next time an overthinking spiral starts, do not try to argue with it. Just say, I notice I am having the thought that blank. Fill in the blank with whatever the thought is. Say it out loud if you can. Feel what happens to the intensity of that thought in the next 10 seconds. Now, this is worth sharing with someone you care about, because most people spend years fighting their own thoughts and getting exhausted by the fight. This one technique alone can completely change that dynamic. Send this to someone who overthinks everything. It could genuinely help them today. And now the 4th trick. This is the one I want you to save this video for, because this is the technique worth coming back to. This is the one that works not just in the moment, but over time actually rewires how often your brain chooses to spiral in the first place. Now, everything I have shared so far is important. Each of these tricks works, but this last one, number 4, this is the one that changed everything for me. Trick number 4, the worry window. It is the most powerful, long-term tool for stopping overthinking that behavioral psychology has produced in the last 30 years. Here is the problem with trying to stop overthinking throughout the day. Every time a worried thought shows up and you try to push it away, your brain registers that thought as unfinished business, and unfinished business gets prioritized. Your brain will keep bringing that thought back at random moments throughout the day because it genuinely believes you still need to deal with it. The worry window solves this by giving your brain a scheduled time to worry. You pick a specific 15-minute window every day, maybe 5 p.m., maybe after dinner, whatever works for you. And during that window, you are actually allowed to worry about whatever you want. You write it down, you think it through, you let the thoughts run. But outside of that window, every time an overthinking thought shows up, you say to yourself, that is a real concern and I will think about it at 5 p.m. And you let it go for now. This works because your brain is not actually trying to torture you with repeated thoughts. It is trying to make sure important things do not get forgotten. When you give it a scheduled time to address those things, it releases the thought from the urgent queue. It stops firing the alarm signal because it trusts that the concern will be handled. Psychologist Thomas Baroft at Penn State University ran a landmark study on exactly this technique and found that people who used a scheduled worry window reduced their overall daily anxiety significantly within just 2 weeks. Not months, 2 weeks. Because the brain learns very quickly that the thoughts will get their time, just not right now. When you have to pick your action today, pick a 15-minute worry window and put it in your calendar right now. Today, give it a specific time. And the next time an overthinking thought shows up outside of that window, just say, I will think about that at my scheduled time. That is the whole habit. So let me put all 4 of these together for you because I want you to walk away with something concrete and actionable. When the spiral starts, you have 4 tools. You ground yourself in the present moment with the 5-4-3-2-1 method. You reset your nervous system with 16 seconds of box breathing. You diffuse the thought by labeling it instead of fighting it. And you train your brain long-term with a daily worry window that tells it when to worry so it stops interrupting you the rest of the time. Picture this. A week from now, you feel that familiar tightening in your chest, that pull toward the spiral. And instead of going down that path for the next 2 hours, you take a breath. You ground yourself. You label the thought. You tell your brain it will get its time. And within 60 seconds, you are back, clear, calm, present. Not because the problem went away, because you stopped letting your brain bully you into a loop that was never helping you in the first place. These 4 brain tricks that stop overthinking work because they work with your brain instead of against it. And that is the difference between techniques that help and techniques that just make you feel worse for not being able to think your way out. Drop a comment right now and tell me which of these 4 tricks you are going to try first. I genuinely want to know which one hit home for you. Your thoughts are not you. You are the one watching the thoughts, and that distance is where your freedom lives. And if you want to go even deeper on this, watch the next video where I break down the exact daily habits that the happiest and calmest people use to protect their mental energy and stop anxiety before it even starts. It connects directly to everything we covered here, and I think it is going to be exactly what you need.